I was the 11th child of my dad's 45. We weren't half siblings, we were siblings. My brother, that was 2 months older than me, was my brother. It's not from the same mom, but that didn't matter. 99% of the people that I knew had the last name Wayman, my same last name. I have one dad, 4 moms, and 44 siblings. I definitely know all of them by name. Aaron, Leroy, Pamela, Clayne, Guy, Miriam, Miranda, Michelle, Melanie, David, Calvin, that's me, Anna, Jonathan, Joshua. Yes, I could go down the whole list. We just have a WhatsApp group that we call siblings. Everything is only obviously a cult when it's looked at in totality. That becomes your normal because that's all I knew.
There are so many things around this that don't add up. But if I'm being honest, as good as it is, it just doesn't feel right.
We all grew up in the same house. We also grew up on a farm. We often worked together, growing the corn, tomatoes. We also had animals. We had these things called the garments. There's jokes about this on the outside world known as Jesus jammies. Your garments are super special because they're like a protector. Every girl was supposed to wear a dress. All the guys wear long sleeves, never shorts, of course. Some families were against sandals. The specific little church that I was in, I think they estimate 2,000. The whole FLDS church movement, I think, is estimated around 60,000 members. We would have family prayer right before bed sometimes. And then we would tell, especially my dad, goodnight. Not always all the other moms, but because in FLDS culture, it's very patriarchal. Having 5 parents, in some ways, I think that creates more opportunity for love. I think a lot of teenagers start to have friction with their biological parents. And I actually got closer to one of my other moms. To be fair, there were some definite parts of childhood that were not good. I almost never went in public. If a car was coming down the street, we were taught to hide behind a bush or get in the house so people couldn't see us. There were psychological punishments that God is going to be mad at you. And I experienced physical punishment many times. Beatings, getting punched, getting kicked, in different situations whipped with a belt. One time, my cousin Richard and I, time got away from us. I think it was 10:30 and we were still sitting in his driveway talking. One of his moms comes out and then she sees us and she's like, "Your dad's looking for you. You better get your butt back home." So I sped back home, and again, because I was out 30 minutes past curfew, I was taken into the barn and I was physically punished. Even though it purported to be a Christian faith, there wasn't a lot of forgiveness for certain sins. The FLDS church is still racist, for example. If you're African American, you could not hold a leadership position in the church. If you leave the church, that's showing that you turned against it. So leaving is not just leaving. If you leave and if you're wrong, you're damned to hell. You burn in eternity. I didn't feel safe in my own thoughts. I had a deep curiosity around learning. So I wanted to keep learning. So I went to my dad and I said, I want to go to college. I picked a class called philosophy. Man, that class is what created what I call the crack. And I realized in that moment there wasn't anything, almost nothing, that was really meaningful that I had internally discovered. I studied it for years and I started to have even more questions and it didn't get better. I knew it was significant because I knew something major was about to shift. I had tremendous pain and anger, realizing what I was in and realizing the things about it that were so incredibly toxic and destructive.
What I'm about to say, I think, is the first time I've ever really recorded myself saying this out loud, is whether or not I am going to stay with the community. I don't think I am going to stay.
I eventually left the community in the middle of COVID. Then I made a video on Facebook. Some people, they took it very personally. And so I was attacked on social media because I would dare leave the one thing that was most dear to me. I ended up in an arranged marriage, that it was a church arranged marriage. Like shortly after leaving the religion, my ex became my ex because she wanted to stay. I didn't want to stay. I wanted to live a life that felt true to who I was, even if I was going to be damned. When I was really young, I had a really close bond with my dad. You know, just like any young boy, I mean, you look up and your dad is Superman. I found out last year that my dad is dying. He has stage 4 prostate cancer. We got to talk. And he said something that I never thought I would ever hear in my life. And he said, sorry. I got to express my forgiveness. I got to express the appreciation of the good times. It's been a process. From that day till now, and even the last few years has been a process. Since leaving, I feel like in some ways I didn't have a parent, even though it looked like I had 5. The adjustment's been an exciting adventure. I love putting myself in new situations. Like, I've traveled a lot and I love it. I grew up in a small town, but New York City is where I think my next big chapter is, with putting my roots down. I'm still learning, still want to show love, even those that come from where I come from. Even though I'm 35 years old, I'm a baby in this new life. We've got one life, so all I'm saying is if you really realize you only got one, what is it that you really want to do? What's the life you really want to live? Live it that way.
My parents would tie us together via a rope so that we were always together and I could always make sure she obeyed. The therapist, when she heard that story, was just like really shocked. And she looked at me and she said, Elizabeth, that's child abuse.